Toryin Schadlich, formerly of Traveler. Welcome to 69 Face of Rock. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. Day's just getting started. How are
Excellent.
you doing?
I'm good too. Now, before we go any further, the nature of this interview is very much a retrospective one. Traveler, as of now, is still a band that is not a band anymore. But we're here to talk history.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully capture the essence of what this band was. So, how did you get into the music, first of all?
Music in general. Well, I guess like my dad was a guitar player, like way back in the day before I was born, and then I started to get interested in that in my uh, early years, probably around eight to 10 is kind of when I first started picking up the guitar, and then yeah, it just kind of escalated from there.
Hmm. Uh, so, becoming a musician, when did that kick in for you from just being a fan?
Um, hmm. Yeah, that's a really good one. So yeah, I guess it would have been probably my teen years when I really started to get into like when I really started to become, a kind of a decent player, I guess. And I guess hearing guys like Eric Clapton and Van Halen were probably some of my earliest guitar heroes. And then it just kind of escalated from there. And I started to really get into hair metal and thrash metal and some of the kind of traditional heavy metal as well. So yeah, I guess yeah, it'd be like kind of my teen years when I started to become more of a musician, I would say.
What musical experience did you have prior to joining Traveler?
So prior to joining Traveler, well, I started out mostly as like a blues player. Like I guess that would have been like first kind of style I learned. But then when I first started playing in bands, I uh, joined a thrash metal band called Hazard, and that was how I made the connection with Matt. We had played a couple of shows together throughout the years. Um, so yeah, that was kind of when I started to become a metal player was joining Hazard.
Mhm. So, what were the origins of Traveler?
So it essentially started out as a solo project of Matt Reese's, and he was in a band called Chrome for many years, and that was kind of how we linked up, I guess, in the first place. But yeah, his band Chrome was kind of not really doing a whole lot. So he started writing all these songs that would later become the first Traveler demo, and then the later the we re-recorded for the full length album. Uh, and then yeah, he got JP on board, and then after he got him and JP started doing demos and stuff. He got Chad Valier, who was at the time in Riot City, and then my name was kind of being passed around a lot. Um, both from the main guy from Rome, Jan. His name was he was passing my name along a lot, and then uh, same with Chad. He was bringing me up quite a bit, and then even like there was another guitar player that Matt was jamming with that it didn't quite work out with, and he's like, "Oh, hey, my buddy Toryin, he's looking to join a band. This would be a good opportunity for him, I think." So yeah, I was just kind of being
Hmm.
brought up a lot, and then after that, I think the final piece of the puzzle would have been getting Dave Arnold on board, who would have been he's was mostly known for being the original bass player of Striker. So yeah, that was kind of how I guess the original lineup kind of came to be.
Did Matt have a clear idea as to what kind of band he wanted to make, form?
I think so. He knew he wanted to stay within the trad metal roots because the band he was in was a little bit more power metal and playing in I think they were in uh they play in D standard tuning, and then he was wanting to do something a little more like you say a little more traditional and stay in standard tuning. So I think that he had a pretty clear vision from the beginning of what he wanted the band to be.
The first demo, how did that do?
Yeah, the first demo did some great things. Immediately, like that got eyes looking at us, almost immediately, which is pretty cool. and then uh, and then yeah, things just kind of escalated with the first album. Like we hadn't even played our first show yet.
Well,
Um,
we'll get to that. Now, also your singer, Jean-Pierre, he came from the United States, I believe, right?
yeah, yeah. So he
So
was
how did you guys make it work? How did you find him?
Matt knew him because of Gatekeeper. So Gatekeeper is also a Canadian band. They are from Vancouver, and I know that JP he was living in Vancouver for a little bit, but then I think he had moved back down to the States. So he is. I think even now, I think he just joined another Canadian band. I can't remember what the name of it was, but he just joined another Canadian band in Ottawa as well. But the Sector. I believe. He's an American, and I guess he just keeps joining all these Canadian bands. yeah,
Got a strong affection for Canadian bands.
yeah.
Um, so also at this point, you are in the band. How did you affect Traveler creatively?
uh, well, actually, for the most part, it was like Matt did most of it, and then a lot of what I would do is just minor contributions here and there to, I'd kind of add stuff to riffs here and there. But for the most part, on the first two albums, it was mostly just I was mostly just contributing solos because actually by the time I had joined, it would have been near Matt had already done all the rhythms and stuff for the first album. So I was just there to kind of fill in the missing pieces with uh, my solos. And then, it kind of just wound up being the same thing with the second album. Matt had pretty much everything ready to go. And then it would have been the third album, the most recent one,
Mhm.
that things started to become a little bit more collaborative, which was kind of cool. I was contributing a few riffs here and there, rewriting a few sections and stuff like that. And I've always kind of felt that has been my role in most bands is just uh, filling in the missing pieces and just kind of being that next set of ears that hears that hears the vision.
Mhm. That makes sense. Um, how did you feel the first album do for you?
It did excellent. It did very well because by the time we had released it, we had gotten asked to play "Keep It True," which that was before we had even done our first shows even locally. Um, so that was a pretty cool feeling, not even doing a hometown show, and it's like, hey, do you guys want to come play Europe for the first time in Germany? So that was a pretty cool feeling. So that did some great things for us, and then even our first hometown shows wound up being very successful because we had gotten asked by some heavy hitters locally, like Stryker. That would have been our first Calgary and Edmonton show. Would have been with some of the bigger names in Western Canada. So yeah, it did some really good things for us.
Tell me about the creature you had on the cover, which kind of developed into some kind of a band mascot, I believe.
Yeah. So that is we have named him Marvin,
Marvin.
and he just you see him evolve throughout the albums. Kind of starts out as just a flying squid head on the on the on the demo, and then you kind of see him evolve into something more throughout the albums. And we had gotten a local artist, Dylan Barstead, who also played in a wicked speed metal band called the Cadaver Dog. But yeah, we got him to do all of the. Actually, I think he did all of our artwork, and it just kind of. And like I've kind of talked about this a little bit before with like my other bands because my other bands have mascots, and it's just a thing throughout metal history, just having mascots. on your cover kind of. It's a really good thing, I think. And it always ends up being unintentional, but it's a really good thing for like branding, I think. It's something that people associate with the band.
That makes sense. Yeah. What was evident from the get-go was the great chemistry between both guitar players. The two of you form an incredible team. How did it work from your perspective?
It was yeah, it was great. Matt, I learned a lot from Matt. Like, I like to think I was a pretty decent player when I joined the band, but when you're playing in a band with another guitar player, you end up learning a lot from each other. Um, you know, uh, so yeah, and him being a phenomenal lead player, he was able to give me some really good advice, and vice versa too. We both kind of were able to kind of riff off of each other, and there was some really good chemistry, I think, with the solos, and that like our styles. Uh we do a lot of similar things, but we do it in a very different way that I think makes our playing styles very unique from each other. And to me, I think that's a very important thing. Being in a dual guitar band is having really good chemistry, but also being different from each other as well. Very contrasting styles, but that also complement each other very well. And I think we had a lot of that. We both had a lot of similar ideas, but very different approaches to things. And I think that helped a lot with shaping our sound, particularly like the solos and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Were you able to do any tours for the first album?
The first album, not really like touring. We were just kind of getting our foot in the door. So we did do international shows. So we did two shows in Europe because we had played Bambi Galore in Hamburg, and then it would have been the following day that we played the Keep It True Festival. And then I think the only other thing we had done that year, or maybe it would have even been the next year, we had done Legions of Metal in Chicago. That would have been my first time playing Reggie's, which actually, funny enough, that was where you and I reconnected last weekend. So it's kind of coming full circle, which is interesting.
Yeah, it sure is. So, how did you get ready for album number two?
Uh, it was that was interesting because it was pretty much already set to go. Um, so yeah, like Matt was like, well, I've got like a whole other batch of songs ready to go, and then yeah, he just went for it. Him and Chad got together, recorded all the drums and rhythm guitars for it, and then I just had to listen and familiarize myself with the new material. And then again, kind of similar to the first one, I just came in and laid down some solos.
Were there any mistakes you as a band did not want to commit again or repeat?
Um, oh man, that's a good one. So that is something I do always try to look for though uh with all of my bands. It's like, okay, what did we do right, and what, more importantly, what did we do wrong that we don't want to do again? Honestly, I can't really think of too many with Traveler, because by the time the third album came around, like we had kind of figured out what to do and what not to do at that point. So nothing really sticks out. But honestly, I think just kind of the biggest thing, I guess, would be opening up communication a little bit more. And I think that's something that a lot of bands I think that's a mistake a lot of people end up making, is just, not enough communication and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, overall, like there's not too many mistakes, and there's also not necessarily mistakes, but there's always stuff that I think that you look back on, like, I think we could do better. But yeah, there's nothing that really comes to mind immediately.
Got it. Generally, what can you tell me about the Termination Shock album? Do you feel it defined your style further?
Um, I would say yes and no. Like it is almost just a continuation of the first album, but then it had a little bit higher of a production sound to it. But if you ask a lot of the fans, I think a lot of the fans liked uh, the first album a little bit more. I think they just found the songs a little bit more memorable. I think I can't really speak for the rest of the band, but that's just kind of what I've noticed, just from how well both albums were received. Um, so yeah, it was uh kind of a step sideways, I guess. Maybe not so much a step forward. But yeah, that's just kind of my perception of it. Because actually, even on later tours, um, we never did a whole lot of songs off of Termination Shock. Like even on that last tour, we did mostly first album songs and then mostly album three songs. I think we only had one or two songs off of Termination Shock. Also, though, with Termination Shock, there were ballads on the album too, which don't get me wrong, I'm a sucker for good ballads. Being a very high energy band, though, it can be tricky to pull that stuff off live, especially going for having a very high energy show. Sometimes bringing it down a little bit with some of the softer songs can kind of kill the energy that the crowd has, I find. Um, so it kind of sucks that we never. And also too, when Termination Shock came out, that was right at the start of. Actually, I think it came out after kind of mid 2020, so it would have been right around COVID came out. So we didn't get an opportunity to uh, really do too much with those songs because also, I guess by the time we started getting going again, we never really got to rehearse those songs as a band, and then there were lineup changes. So yeah, yeah, like I say, just kind of a step sideways, but also not really an opportunity to get a whole lot to do with those songs.
Mhm. So, having two quality albums out at that point, what doors were open for the band? What were you able to do?
Well, we were able to do a couple of US tours with some heavy hitters. Like we were doing I guess this would have been a little bit later, but we were doing tours with we did the Allied Forces tour a couple of years ago with bands like Screamer, Haunt, and Saber, which was that there is probably like the funnest time I've ever had on a tour. Like that was just such a fun trip. There's just made a lot of friends, and yeah, it was great. And there was even some great opportunities with that tour as well. Like we wound up playing Hell's Heroes. Which has since grown into just this huge festival now. So it was pretty cool. And then we got to play that festival again a couple of years later as well. And then well, actually, I think after that we did a European tour with Thunder as well. So yeah, that opened the doors for a lot of touring, which was great opportunities. That was something I'd never really had an opportunity to do before, and that was something that was kind of the goal, I guess, with Traveler was to um, you know be able to work towards those opportunities. And yeah, everyone, everyone that was in the band, that was the goal. So that was part of being in that band. Was if you didn't have that goal, you weren't really a good fit.
That makes sense. And having done those tours, what kind of a following were you able to build up at that point?
Well, doing it with other bands that were similar style to us, it's uh, you kind of almost trade fan bases almost, because playing with other similar bands, you gain their fans, and they also gain your fans. So that's that again, like that's kind of a big thing with touring, and touring with kind of as a tour package with multiple bands is you. you get bigger shows and you gain more fans because you're gaining fans from the other bands and not just trying to um, you know draw in the whole crowd yourself, you know.
Yeah. Musically, do you feel you are still evolving?
I think so. It's unfortunate that we kind of called it quits when we did because it felt like we were just kind of starting to become more of like a band. Like I said, the first two albums, a lot of it was almost, it was almost like a solo album. The third album being a lot more collaborative. I think we definitely could have evolved that chemistry a little bit more. Being a lot more collaborative and stuff like that. So yeah, it kind of sucks that it felt like we were just getting to that point before ending.
Mhm. You did the first two albums within a year of each other. And the last one, there was a 4 year break. What caused that?
Lots of things. So yeah, I guess like COVID was a big one, and then just a lot of us just getting distracted with other things in life as well. It was just yeah, everyone I think around that time was just very distracted with everything. I had another band that was recording an album at the same time, and I was myself. I was maybe spreading myself a little bit thin as well, and then other people were focusing on other things in life as well. So yeah, it was kind of a mix of just everyone and just doing different things.
Yeah, yeah, the life kicks in. Once you got started on Prequel to Madness writing sessions, what did that look like?
Um, so it kind of started out with Matt writing songs, but then there was also contributions. There was a song written by our bass player, Dave Arnold, which that would have been Rebels of Earth. That one was written by him. And then again, it was starting to become a little bit more collaborative where, JP was writing all the lyrics now. And then, yeah, I would be given the skeletons of the songs, and then I would kind of make I would add my contributions. Maybe, hey, what if we did this with this riff? What if we did this with this harmony here? Oh, hey, what if we did this time around, and the next time around we change it to this? So yeah, that like I said, a little bit more collaborative, but again, kind of starting with a single idea.
Mhm. Um, Obviously, Prequel to Madness sounds very mature and polished. Do you feel it was your most grown-up album?
I would say so. I would say so. See, now that I feel like is kind of the direction we were trying to go in with Termination Shock, and I feel like we really achieved that with Prequel to Madness.
Mhm. What aspect of your overall musicality and the band experience were you able to apply into Prequel to Madness?
Um, I guess, well, like, because there was such a gap between the albums, like I said, I was distracted with other things, but also though I was also, you know, in that time, I feel like I was growing as a musician as well, so I got to really show that, that like I said, it took 4 years between albums. Yeah, I got to show 4 years of my own musical growth on that one there. So hopefully
Um,
that kind
yeah. When you listen to that album back, what surprised you the most?
of it's interesting when you're recording that stuff because you're hearing a very raw and unmixed sound. So you're like, oh, hearing the kind of the rough mixes and demos of that as we were working on those. And then hearing the final finished product, just hearing the clarity, I guess, is a big thing. Hearing that production shine through, that I guess was the big thing, and making something that sounds pretty good sound amazing. That's it's amazing what good production can do to an album.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And how was the album received by your fan base?
Seems like it was received pretty well. I think there was definitely a lot more, some memorable songs on that album. And yeah, it seemed like it resonated very well with the fans, I'd say.
You did play some tours for that record. What was that like?
Yeah, so that one I believe would have been we did one with Savage Master, and then uh oh yeah, we did one with Night Demon as well in Europe. So we did a US tour with Savage Master and one with Night Demon. I believe that would have been with those that would have been supporting that album. So yeah, yeah, that was yeah, those were amazing experiences. So yeah, that was yeah, I believe that was all the touring we did for that. I think all the other tours would have been for previous albums.
So what was happening inside the band? Were there any signs of a possible breakup coming up?
Um yeah, I guess like it was, like everyone has a lot of stuff going on in life, and uh Matt he's started to become, he was wanting to uh do other things in life that weren't necessarily music related. Like he's starting a family now, and he's wanting to I think he's starting a business as well. um and just kind of do other things in life. It's very hard to do other things in life when you're in a touring band, unless being in a touring band is the goal. It's hard to do a lot of other things, which is kind of the sad reality of being in bands these days. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but yeah, it's very tough to say like buy a house or start a family. So I guess that was a big contribution to the band taking a hiatus. And I don't know, like for the most part, we all get along. There's always a little bit of internal stuff here and there, but for the most part, it's just yeah, everyone kind of just doing other things.
So generally speaking, you did part as friends,
Yes, yeah,
which is probably very important.
I think so.
Yeah. How did the metal community react when that was announced?
That was yeah, that was when it really set in. It wasn't really right away that it sunk in for me that the band was done. It would have been probably the weeks following, with just the outpour of messages from fans. I had there's fans that I've you know interacted a lot with and become friends with just from touring and keeping contact. They follow me on social media. So I had tons of people, friends, fans, lots of people, reaching out saying how how upset they were that we were done. There's a lot of people devastated. So that was also a really cool feeling to really see how much of an impact the band had on people's lives. That was that's something you don't really realize, and so that was
Yeah.
a really good feeling. And then yeah, that really kind of set in. I was like, oh, it's done.
Um, what is everyone doing musically now?
We all got other stuff going on. So like say I got my other band Hazard, which I've been doing for I think almost 11 years now. I've been with that band. And I've been venturing into other stuff as well. I've been trying to do a lot more session work, and I've actually gotten a couple of opportunities just doing guest solos for people I've met on tour. So that was I'm actually very great, kind of just very grateful for the opportunities I had with Traveler, that led to more opportunities as well. And then our bass player Jake would have played a couple of songs on Prequel to Madness. He's in a couple of bands right now. I think he's in multiple bands. I know he's in a band called Witch, which is a really cool like death metal band, I think. And uh, Nolan, he's got lots of stuff in the works right now. I know he's working on a solo album, which actually he asked me to do a couple of guest solos on that. So I've done one of them. I still owe him another solo, so I got to do that for him. And then yeah, so he's got a solo album. I think he's got like another band thing as well. I don't know if I'm combining those two things there, but he's got a couple of projects on the go right now. And then uh yeah, JP's in he's in a bunch of bands right now. I think he's in Viper Witch right now, and then I think he joined Spectre or the Scepter. I can't remember what it was. I just saw this recently that he joined another band. So yeah, we're all still going. You know, Matt, he's like I say, he's being a family man right now, but he's kind of building a recording studio right now in his new house. So um I don't think he's really got any bands on the go right now, but he is still, I'm sure he's still writing songs and stuff right now as well. And, um, maybe we'll be able to collaborate on stuff in the future. And, like you said, we all, ended the band on good terms. So, we, wanted to keep that open ended for the possibility of a reunion in the future with, whether that, happens or not.
And
Will
that
this
brings me to
evening.
that question: is the door open for the band for Traveler to be a band again in years to come?
I would say so. I hope so. If not, that is what it is.
But you're definitely willing.
If they just have to say the word, hey, I want to do another album. Hey, let's do another tour. Oh, hey, we got asked to do a reunion show at this festival. I'm in.
Very good. Excellent. So what were your personal highlights from your time with Traveler?
Um, like I say, the Allied Forces tour we did with Haunt and Saber and Screamer, that's a pretty big highlight right there. Just so much happened on that trip, and so many cool opportunities came from that one, and I met a lot of cool people. A lot of the touring though in general like is a pretty big highlight for me, and a lot of the festivals in particular that we did. We got to play Up the Hammers in Greece, and we did Hell's Heroes multiple times. We did Keep It True and Keep It True Rising as well. Like, so a lot of the festivals I would say are pretty big highlights. Um, and then yeah, just being a part of the band and being a part of that music since the early days is pretty cool to say. Um, yeah, a lot of so many memories made that I'm gonna always look on very very positively.
Great. Finally, what do you miss about Traveler?
Again, kind of the touring, but yeah, that one's. I guess there's mixed feelings on that. I guess as much as I loved touring, it is a lot. So I'm like, okay, it's this is now an opportunity to focus on other ventures. But yeah, I miss uh, I guess looking forward to meeting new people and interacting with fans and stuff like that. It was it kind of made me feel like a rock star. Like some of my heroes and stuff. That was always a big dream of mine. So yeah, I'm always gonna kind of miss that to some degree. And then yeah, just being able to create music that I quite enjoyed, and the fans just loved. It's I guess that's something I'm gonna miss as well.
Now, when I think back to some of our interactions, I'm so glad I filmed some of the shows that I posted live because for now, that's the only way to experience Traveler, especially for fans who are maybe just discovering the bands.
Hmm. Totally, and I actually quite like those videos as well because I try not to do this too often, but I do reminisce about those days as well, and it's cool to kind of relive those moments that have been captured by yourself and many other people. So yeah, that's also that is a way for me to look back on those memories that I have.
Yeah, it's good to have that visual proof.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it's again, I try not to brag too much, but when people are like, oh, oh, you were in a band, you guys, do anything, I can pull up videos and be like, oh yeah, check out this video here, and people are always, kind of impressed by it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, they're still being seen, so I think there's still interest, and people do enjoy it. Um, Torian, thank you so much for taking the time to remember and reminisce about your time in Traveler, and good luck with your future projects.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks again, Mark, for the opportunity. It was nice reconnecting with you, and yeah, getting an opportunity to look back on all this stuff.